Am I audible now? Am I audible now? Hello, hello. Am I audible now? All right. Hello, Jitendra. Hello, Bhavani. Hello, Abhijit. Hello, Anu. All of you. So we are starting. Is it still a problem? Is audio still a problem? Is audio still a problem? Just give me 1 minute. Is audio still a problem? Am I audible to you? All right. So my name is Karuna Mishra, and I am the faculty for Environment and Ecology here at Edukemy. And we are starting a module which is current affairs for UPSC Civil Service exam. Now, environment and ecology and science and technology, let's say, for instance, are two subjects which are very heavily dependent on current affairs. In fact, I can say that 50% of the total questions which are asked in these two subjects are from the current only. But the question is how to scavenge out these news. I will start with some factual news that you hear or you see in the newspaper, and how to guess the kind of questions which can be asked from these kind of news. And then today I'll be taking three very important topics, extremely important for your prelims and for your mains as well. Eventually you'll be writing mains, but for your prelims obviously, is the Indian State Forest Report of 2021. Then we have the COP26, which was in news, which was extremely important. And the IPCC 6th assessment report. IPCC has released its 6th assessment report in 3 parts. 2 of the parts have been released, and the 3rd part shall be released by the August of 2022. Now, all these reports are extremely important. You would notice that there is a pattern in UPSC where they ask you about different reports, and they also ask you about what are the important findings of this reports. Now, talking about the IPCC report, it has come after the COP26, which was, I think, the biggest event in the environmental history after the Paris Agreement of 2015. In my mains, I don't know if you have gone through the paper of mains of 2021, you were getting a lot of questions from the topic of COP26. Did you notice? There were a lot of questions. In fact, there was a question on COP26 in the PSIR optional as well. So this event is extremely big. It is a game changer. It has now changed the way countries are dealing when it comes to environmental clauses. So we'll try to finish these 3 topics. I have started with this particular topic which I saw in news. Did you come across this news, which is aquamation? Did you come across the news? Aquamation. What exactly is aquamation? Now, aquamation is a sustainable and eco-friendly method for cremation. All right. So this is nothing but an eco-friendly method for cremating a person. Now, aquamation was actually performed by a Nobel Peace Prize winner. Nobel Peace Prize winner who also happens to be an anti-apartheid campaigner, and you don't need to remember their names or anything, but what exactly is this method? So aquamation is nothing but you basically see there are 2 major ways of cremating a person. One is of course the burning, which is used by the older civilization, and the other is cremation which is done in the ground. The problem is, if you've noticed, even in the Ukraine and Russia crisis, it has become very difficult to find cremation grounds, and you have to create these sites, and land itself is a very, very valuable resource. So eventually, with the increasing population, you will have to find ways. You will have to find ways in which the cremation can be done in an eco-friendly way, right? So in aquamation, what do you do? It is the same. Try to understand the concept. It is the same, which is the decomposition, but you accelerate the decomposition. In your ground cremation, that is when you bury somebody in the ground, that is decomposition by the microorganisms. In this process, you're simply accelerating it. And how are you accelerating it? In this, the body of the deceased person is immersed for a few hours in a mixture of water and strong alkali in a pressurized metal cylinder, and it is heated to around 150 degrees Celsius. What is the benefit of doing this? The benefit is, it is the combination of gentle water flow, temperature, as well as alkalinity. It breaks down the organic matter. So basically, what happens in my decomposition also, I'm breaking down the organic matter, and I'm doing the same thing here also. Alright. So here, what I'm left with is bone fragments and the liquid called effluent, which can further be used as to mineralize the soil. So now basically it is the same as the decomposition, but in an accelerated manner. What is the catch here? The catch here is that there is no tissue or no DNA left after the whole process is completed. After the whole process is completed, I do not have any DNA or a tissue left with me. Alright. So now, what kind of question can you expect from this type of a news? The question which I can expect is, what is this process? And another catch is that there is no DNA or trace of DNA left after the whole process is complete. So I basically have total 2 catches from this particular news. So this you have to very smartly scavenge now that you are in the last leg of your preparation. All right. Let us take on another question. Another question says that there was recently a microalgae. There was recently a microalgae which was found that has the potential to digest plastic. Now you tell me, in bioremediation, have you already studied that bacteria is used for the breakdown of plastic? Yes or no? In bioremediation, I have already studied that I can create LMOs, which are living modified organisms, and bacteria are used in it, which are genetically engineered to break down the different types of plastics. Also used as a method of bioremediation, also used for combating pollution. But now I am having algae also, which is naturally found. So I have got bacteria, I have got algae, which can be used for the breakdown of plastics, and which can be used for conservation of environment, and for the overall landfill situation can be solved with this. Because one of the biggest threat when it comes to environment is the solid waste management. So in the solid waste management, what happens is that now tell me, will you be able to identify it within the lines? You generally have the questions such as, so and so can be or cannot be used as a method of bioremediation to curb plastic pollution. Do you see such questions? PYQs, right? We happen to come across such PYQs, and in these PYQs, my main concern is to identify, for example, bacteria I can, fungi I can, because I know that they are genetically modified also as LMOs. But now you have a natural microalgae also, which is present and can be used for bioremediation of plastic. So when you come across news like this is what you have to extract from that. And what are the areas where it is found? It is found in Africa, Asia, and Europe. I have taken only two such, instances. Tomorrow, if we have a live, or I'll be having my current affairs classes for next 3-4 days, I'll be taking more such topics. But as I've promised, I'll start with the forest report, which is a bigger topic, more comprehensive topic, which is important for your exam. But was I able to tell you how to deal with such current news? How to deal with such current news? I'll give you an example. You had this seagrass. Seagrasses which are smuggled. Seagrasses are very important resource which is found in the coastal areas. So since there was news of smuggling, they actually asked that in part of the question, as an option, they had put seagrass, and they had asked that whether it is part of the ecosystem, this and that. It is generally found in the Munnar area. So that is where we have to identify what are the important aspects I can extract from a current news. Now coming to the Indian State Forest Report 2021. Now, how many of you have gone through this extremely important topic, extremely important for your prelims and mains? How many of you have gone through this report? And can you tell me what are the major findings of these reports? Major findings of the Indian State Forest Report. Anybody? I'm waiting for 30 seconds. Can you tell me what are the major findings? Major findings of Indian State Forest Report. So Indian Forest Report has both the good and the bad side. The good side is that the overall forest cover in India has increased. The concern is, and most importantly, the forest cover is increasing in states such as my Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Andhra Pradesh and Telangana is a region which has dry, deciduous and savanna type of grasslands. This is the region which is, yes, it is increasing than previously. Very good. What else? Is the Telangana and Andhra Pradesh region, also a region where I have land degradation, where I have issues with respect to agriculture, where the overall forest cover is very limited? So if these states have shown increase in the forest cover, that is a very welcoming sign. What is the concern? The concern is that 5 out of the 7 states, barring Tripura and Assam, all the states of Northeast have shown a decline in their forest cover. They have shown a decline in their forest cover. Now you have to understand, Northeastern region is heavily blessed with the either tropical rainforest or moist deciduous forest. Do we know the forest distribution of India? I am expecting that we are well versed with the forest distribution of India, and my northeastern region, which is rich with the evergreen forest. Now if the evergreen forests are lost, evergreen forests are very difficult to be replenished. Evergreen forests are very difficult to be replenished. They have low fertility soil, and the biodiversity which is supported by these forests is something that you cannot risk. So that is my biggest concern. Yes, Odisha has also increased its forest cover. So Odisha, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh are the biggest gainers when it comes to forest cover. Now tell me one thing, there are two ways to assess the forest cover. One is which state has the maximum area that is under the forest cover. Another is which state has the maximum percentage of land under the forest cover. Give me just 1 minute. There is some technical issue. Just 1 minute.
Recording in progress.
All right. Hello everyone. Am I audible? Am I visible? Hello Pavni. I think there was some technical glitch. Good evening Avantika. Good evening all of you. Good evening Akshita. How have you been? All right. So we will be doing the hello Hema. All right. So we will be doing an important topic. We will be doing an important topic, which is hello Indu. So this is the current affairs. This is the current affairs batch, and in current affairs batch, I'll be taking the three important reports, two important reports, which is the IPCC in the Indian State Forest Report, and I will be taking the COP26. COP26, which has been extremely important, right? It has been extremely important. Okay, just give me 1 minute to adjust to this. No, actually, this first class was supposed to be YouTube live also, so there was a little confusion there. Anyways, all of you, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Now let us start. Let us start with the important part, which is the Indian State Forest Report. So we were basically discussing the major outcomes of State Forest Report. Second, what are the major issues with this forest report? Why there is a concern? I think. In my prelims current affairs batch also, my crash course batch, I asked a question that whether tea plantations are part of the forest cover or not. That is one of the biggest criticism that the Indian Forest Report is saying, being targeted at. That Indian Forest Report is also considering the plantations as part of the tree cover, which is a major cause of worry. So yes, all types of plantations are also now included as part of the forest cover or a tree cover. So let us take the major outcomes of this particular report. All right. Chandan, you're saying not for what? Plantations are covered. So let us take it. So basically, first of all, there are three survey agencies in India. Three survey agencies. Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me for forest survey? For forest survey, I have the Forest Survey of India. Then I have the what is the other? Do I have Botanical Survey of India? Then there is Botanical Survey of India, and then there is a survey agency which is controlled by the Bombay National History Society. So these are the three major agencies which talk about the surveying of flora and fauna in my country. Now, this type of report, which is a state forest report, it is released in every 2 years, and it undertakes the assessment of country's forest resources. Now, as a science tech, what kind of satellites or satellite system is used for forest assessment? What type of satellite system will be used for forest assessment? Will it be remote sensing satellites? Yes or no? So I use remote sensing satellites for the assessment of, yes, Earth observation satellites or remote sensing satellites. So remote sensing satellites are used for the assessment of forest, and the accuracy of the assessment of forest cover or green cover by the Indian remote sensing satellite system is more than 95%, and the globally accepted standard is 85%. So India has very accurate remote sensing satellites which are used for the survey. Now coming to the agency. Since this report is extremely important, the agency also becomes extremely important. So the agency is the Forest Survey of India. So Forest Survey of India is a national organization which works under the Ministry of Environment. It was established in the year 1981 and has its headquarters at Dehradun. Next is, it is responsible for the assessment and monitoring of the forest resources of the country on the regular basis. So before coming to what are the important aspects of or terms of something, let us have a quick 5 to 10 minutes discussion about this report, what report has said, and what are the concerns and what is the way forward. Whenever a report like this comes, I have to take care of 2-3 things. Was there any specific definition given in this report? What are the major outcomes of this report? And if at all there is a criticism, then what are the basis of the criticism faced by a report? Now coming about the outcome, we understood that Forest Survey of India is an important agency, and this agency is going to be doing the assessment. Coming to the important types of findings, the important findings are: one, there has been a considerable increase in the forest cover in the peninsular India. First of all, in the peninsular India, which is known for dry deciduous forest and is known for savanna area. This is also the area where the land degradation is a concern. So it is a welcoming sign. States like Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha have increased the forest cover which have dry deciduous forest and savanna grasslands or savanna type of grassland region and have undergone land degradation. Does it make sense to everyone? Why it is a positive sign? Why is it a positive sign? Does it make sense to everyone? Because these are the areas which are prone to land degradation. Now this is a current affairs session. I'm assuming you know the basic concepts. Do you know that the savanna and the Sahel region of Africa are one of the highest land degraded regions of the world? So whenever you have grassland regions, they have high possibility of turning into degraded areas. Again, coming to deciduous forest, since these regions come in the belt where there is long dry summer, again the degradation possibilities are much higher. Then of course the man-made or the anthropogenic activities also add to the entire misery. But what is a concern here? The concerns are 2 to 3. 2 to 3 concerns are: first concern is that the forest region in the northeast of India, barring Assam and Tripura, all of my regions are losing their forest cover. Their overall forest cover is losing. I had asked a question on YouTube, right? That which is the state which has highest area under forest? That would be Madhya Pradesh, but it is Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, etc., which have the highest percentage of area under forested region. So if it has, let's say, 100 units of area, I am talking about Arunachal Pradesh, and let's say Madhya Pradesh has 150 units of area. Madhya Pradesh will have, let's say, 60 units of forest, and my Arunachal Pradesh will have 50 units of forest, but the overall percentage of land under forestation is higher in this region. Now Northeast has a lot of dependability on the forest. Northeastern region and the Western Ghat regions are the only areas in mainland India which have evergreen type of forest, which have tropical evergreen forest. Now a quick revision. Do evergreen forests have fertile soil? Yes or no? Do evergreen forests have fertile soil? They do not have fertile soil. In fact, they have one of the highest infertile soil. So if you remove the forest cover from the evergreen forest region, it will be difficult to replenish that area, and that area will never be forested again. It will never have the same level of forestation as it had earlier. Second, the biodiversity which is supported by the evergreen forest is one of the highest in the world. No, Bhavani, it does not have fertile soil. In fact, it has the most infertile leached soil because of the heavy rainfall washing of the nutrients. Do we remember tropical evergreen forest biome? All right, again. So this is a concern here. This is a concern here that if these regions are going to lose forest cover, it will be difficult to replenish. Second, the civilizations or the tribes living in these areas are highly dependent on the forest. Third, this region also has a close relationship between the nature and the mankind, and of course these are the carbon sinks of India. The Western Ghats, Andaman and Nicobar evergreen forest, and the forest of my northeast are the carbon sinks of India. And if India wants to combat climate change, then it needs to protect these carbon sinks. Alok, you are raising your hand. Do we have a doubt? Do we have a doubt, beta? We're good to go? No issues? All right. Okay. No issues. No issues. Chaliye. Another concern was, it's okay. Another concern was that there were forest fires. India has according to the forest report. Now again, here the vegetation comes into picture. Does India have majority of its area under dry deciduous vegetation or grassland vegetation? Tropical grassland vegetation, yes or no? If I have majority of my area under the grassland vegetation and my dry deciduous vegetation, will it be prone to fire? Because India has a long dry summer season. For example, I don't know which state you live in. If you happen to be anywhere in North India, the temperatures are already beyond 40 and 42 degrees Celsius, right? A quick question from geography. The early onset of summer is believed to be the responsibility of La Nina. True or false? The early onset of summer is believed to be the onset of, or believed to be because of the La Nina conditions. True or false? Think about it, think properly about it, and then give me an answer tomorrow. Will you do that? Will you do that? All of you. Give me an answer of yours, whether you think it is yes or no. But I need a proper explanation, not just yes ma'am, no ma'am, true, false. But will you give me a proper explanation? Because this is from your very basic concept. Chali, coming back to the forest fires. Good. So can you tell me, Bhavani, what could be a possible reason for that? Try to give me a proper explanation, because don't you think it is a very, very probable question? Very probable question for this year. A food for your thought. Chaliye. So coming back to the forest fires. So in your country where you have majority of the area under the deciduous forest, mostly dry deciduous forest, and savanna region. Both have the tendency to catch fire due to long and dry intense summers. Now you have to understand what is the property of deciduous forest. The property of deciduous forest is shedding of leaves, right? They shed their leaves. The autumn in North America and Europe is in October, but the autumn in India is going on right now. Therefore you find these fallen leaves everywhere, and these are dry leaves. Don't you think they are like ready-made fuel for fire? Dry leaves on the ground and intense heat. Dry leaves on the ground in these forested areas and intense heat hence results into forest fire. So this was an observation by this report that India has more than 1/3 of its forests. More than 1/3. You can't remember 34%, 36%, but can you remember more than 1/3? Alright, so more than 1/3 of the Indian forests are prone to forest fires. And by the years, as we exceed, more than 60% of your forests will be under the possibility of forest fires. Now, forest fires are a big concern because there is loss of biodiversity, fragmentation of habitat, then aerosols, air pollution. You have all the major air pollutant, oxides of nitrogen, oxides of sulfur, particulate matter, volatile organic compounds, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. All of this is released when there is forest fire, and of course replenishing the lost biodiversity which is caused by the forest fires is another one of the major concern. So far, can we paint a picture about this report? Can we paint the picture? Do we understand the concerns raised by it? Do we understand the good positive sides also by it? Chaliye, another concern which was raised by this report was that the overall mangroves and the bamboos, the bamboo plantation is also declining. See, mangroves have increased, but at a very, very low rate. So if I have to say whether the overall mangrove plantation or overall mangrove density has increased or decreased, it has increased, but it has increased at its natural pace. Nothing that we have done or no effort has been made in order to increase the overall density of mangrove forest. So that is a concern. Second, the bamboo plantations or the concentration of bamboos in different states have decreased. Tell me why bamboo is such an important tree. Can you very quickly give me what are the important requirements for bamboo plantation? Can I say it is an evergreen forest? It is an evergreen type of plant. Can I say that bamboos are quick to grow, they regenerate very fast, and have high carbon stock. So can I say that I can actually use bamboos to combat climate change, create green cover and for oxygen production? One such initiative was done by the Khadi Village Industry Corporation, KVIC, in which by the name of the mission Bold. How many of you know that? By the name of mission Bold, in which the good healthy bamboo varieties from northeast were planted in Rajasthan to create these green patches, right? To create these green patches. Yes. And bamboos are considered as the lungs. Why? Because they have higher oxygen production. So bamboos are decreasing, which is a concern. One such state would be Madhya Pradesh, which has highest bamboo plantation even today, but it is also declining. Again, does Madhya Pradesh lie in the dry deciduous region? Does Madhya Pradesh lie in the area which is undergoing land degradation? Does Madhya Pradesh lie in the area where the overall water scarcity is a concern? True or false? So if this is decreasing in these areas, then it is a concern. Alright. Now coming to few terminologies which were used in this report, starting with the first terminology, which is recorded forest area, very important, which is RFA. Now what is the recorded forest area? Recorded forest areas are the lands which are notified as forest under the government of India or any government. So recorded forest area is basically which you project on the global scale or national scale that India has so much forest. This is where the whole bone of contention is coming. So let us do these different types of definitions which are given by the report, and then I will tell you what are the concerns raised by different organizations. I want you to make some crisp notes on it for a last minute revision. This report is very important. The second definition which they have given is tree cover. What is a tree cover? It includes all the patches of trees in less than 1 hectare. Now here density does not matter. Here density does not matter. So tell me, in whatever city or town do you live, if I have a small park, will it be part of the tree cover? Will it be part of the tree cover or not? If I have a small park, it will also be part of my tree cover. Just remember this line when I'll be talking about the different concerns. Next is very important, can be asked in your exams, which is trees outside the forest. These are all the trees outside the forest, irrespective of the patch sizes. If you happen to live in a tier 1 or tier 2 cities, are the societies which are now built have the mandatory clauses to keep a certain green area after let's say 10 number of houses or a building or 2 buildings? You have some notification called as RERA. I don't want to go there, but over the time with the building or the infrastructure, it has now been made mandatory to involve some tree plantations, that is per concrete area or for the population, expected population that is going to be living. All of that will be included in trees outside forest. What are trees outside forest? All the trees that are outside registered forest area, irrespective of their patch sizes. They can be in 10 meters, they can be in 100 meters, they can be in a kilometer, they can be in 5 kilometers. Alright? Alright, so Bhavani, you have given me 5,000 square feet area. Ideally, it is what it is supposed to be, right? So, Bhavani, will all of this be included in trees outside forest? Will all of these be included in trees outside forest, right? Then I have something called as forest cover. What is my forest cover? Forest cover are all patches of land with a tree canopy density of more than 10% and more than 1 hectare. This is what is creating a problem with the environmentalist. That you have defined forest cover as all patches of land with tree canopy and density of more than 10%. Think about it. Only 10% and more than 1 hectare of area. Will it include my sugarcane plantations? Will it include my crops? Will it include my mango plantations? True or not? Will it include all of that? Right? But can I actually call them forest? Can I call sugarcane plantation as forest? This is what the environmentalists are saying. They are saying you have now given forest cover definition to my coffee plantation, mango plantation, tea plantation, sugarcane plantation, any patch of land. So can I actually cover any agricultural land? If you start covering that, then India will have one of the highest forest cover. But will it solve the environmental purpose? That is the concern. That is the concern. So that is one of the major criticism which people are have put forward because of this report, which is the definition of the forest cover. Definition of the forest cover. Now again it is saying irrespective of the land use, ownership or the species of trees. This definition is what is the cause of concern here. All right. Now, exactly. So this is what is the concern with the current report. There are 3 types of densities according to the canopy. I have very dense forests which have canopy density more than 70%. I have moderately dense forests with 40 to 70%, and I have open forests which are 10 to 40%. Very quickly, take these notes down. Do not take too much time, but these are important. Let me know once you're done writing. Please let me know once you're done writing. Try to make it quick. Can I move? Can I move the slide? Great. All right. So if I have to basically sum up, I need to remember these three things. One is, what is tree cover? Less than 1 hectare plus outside RFA. What is trees outside forest? Any tree outside the registered forest area. What is forest cover? Any forest cover which is more than 1 hectare and canopy density is more than 10%. All of this will qualify as the tree cover or the forested area, and these are the important type of definitions which are found in this forest report. All right. Very quickly note it down in the short form. All right. Next is a general idea of the areas which have gained and which have lost. I have taken it from Indian Express. All right. So I see that the maximum gain, can you please, okay, TOF includes tree cover. See, tree cover is generalized. TOF, yes, if I have, let's say, have you visited any society which is known for its green patches? 1 hectare, 2 hectare, 3 hectare green patches. They will be counted as tree cover, Akshita. But they will be part of the trees outside forest also. So you can have the same patch of land under two categories also. Okay. Now coming to the areas which have gained the maximum, as you can see that this is the region, then I have the state of Bihar, then I have the state of Jammu, the Union Territory and the state of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, and then I have Kerala. These are the regions which have done the maximum gain or have gained maximum forest cover or have shown positive changes. As you can see, my entire northeast has shown a lot of deterioration. Then I have West Bengal. Does West Bengal have one of the highest mangrove forest? Right? I have got Sundarbans here, which is my cause of concern. And I have got tropical evergreen forest. Both of these act as the lungs for India when it comes to the carbon dioxide absorption or the creation of carbon sink. So both the carbon sinks, this is a major concern. Then the state of Punjab. Can I attribute unsustainable agricultural practices to be the cause of deterioration in Punjab? Can I attribute the unsustainable agricultural practices which were resulting into land degradation and ultimately loss of forest cover in this region? So just remember the states which have gained, just remember these three. The states which have lost: Arunachal, Manipur, Nagaland, Mizoram, Meghalaya. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are the two states which are out of it? It is Tripura and Assam. and Sikkim is not part of the seven sisters. So if you want to remember 7 plus 1, it is Sikkim. Though I cannot say that they are in a very good position. Do I see them in a very good position? But these 5 states have shown maximum deterioration. The entire northeast till West Bengal has shown overall deterioration when it comes to forested area. Alright, you can take screenshot of this particular map if you want for your last minute revision. You can take a screenshot of this. Alright, now coming to the summary of key findings. Now again I have only included it so that you feel a sense of completion, but otherwise they cannot ask you such data. They cannot ask you such data, but I have given you because it has been released, so you should have it in your notebooks. The data here is important. The data here, which is the total forest cover including mangroves, is 21.71% of the total geographic area. Total tree cover is 2.91% of total geographic area, and total forest and tree cover is 24.62. So this is where the concern is. When you say that India has 24.62 or nearly 25% of its land under forest, this is what is claimed by the government. This is what is claimed. There is patting on the back by the government for itself that we have 1/4 of our country, which is one of the highest populated country, has 1/4 of its area under the forest cover. But what is the concern here? That it is total forest and tree cover. It is total forest and tree cover. Will you be able to decipher? Will you be able to decipher now where the concern lies? The concern lies in this data. Right? Make sense? Chaliye. Now coming to other important findings. The total forest and tree cover is increasing. The forest cover in the hill districts is, do I need to remember this? No, 40% of the total geographic area. So in the hill districts, the total forest cover is 40% of the total geographic area. The current assessment shows a decrease in the hill districts. So this 40% of the total geographical area is the absolute value, but it is decreasing compared to previous reports. The previous report was in the year 2019. Then I have the total forest cover in the tribal districts, which is nearly 37.53 or more than 1/3. You need to find some near around figures to remember that. So in the tribal districts, which is more than 1/3, I have the forested area, and it has shown that there is a decrease in the forest cover of RFA. Now tell me, isn't RFA the true forest area? Isn't RFA the true forest area? What was RFA? RFA was recorded forest area. So RFA is the true forest area, which is showing decrease, whereas the overall forested area is now showing increase. Why? Because I have added RFA plus the tree cover, which has shown an increase over the time. So there is a decrease in the total forest cover of recorded forest area in the tribal districts and an increase of this much outside. The total forest cover in the northeastern region is 64.66%, which is, let's say, more than 2/3 of its geographical area, and it has shown a decrease. Please write this data down and let me know once you're done. Please write this data down and please let me know once you're done. All right. Everybody? Again, these are the top gaining states. I can remember them as the states of the peninsula. The maximum gain is by the peninsular states, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Odisha, Karnataka, Jharkhand, and the highest increase in the forest cover is by Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. Now the difference here is that this is the total proportion or percentage of total area or geographical area of these states. From that point of view, Telangana has had the maximum gain. In the absolute terms of square kilometer, it is Andhra Pradesh. It is Andhra Pradesh. The states, the 5 states in the northeast have all shown the loss, which is Arunachal, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Nagaland. Mizoram and Nagaland. Have you written it down? Have you written it down? Have you written it down? Don't write this data. Please don't write this data. You can't remember anyways. Just write the states. Just write the states. Now, what is the main criticism? The main criticism is, the biggest criticism is that the survey results can be misleading as it has included plantations such as coffee, coconut, mango, other orchids, etc. all part of the forest cover. That is the biggest concern, and these plantations are distinctively different from the national forest. Obviously, can a coffee plantation, can 1 hectare of coffee plantation compensate for 1 hectare of forest? Absolutely not. So including the plantations in the forest area is more so a misleading act and is not healthy, in terms of biodiversity or creating it as a carbon sink, etc. So basically your government has simply done one thing, that anything which is green, it has considered it as part of the tree cover. So this is one of the biggest criticism which is given to this report, Simply write this and rest you can know, right? This obviously makes sense. Why it is a biggest concern? Because when forest is a home to hundreds of species, a plantation only is for a single species. So here the biodiversity purpose is completely lost. Biodiversity purpose is completely lost. All right, are we done here? Now coming to another concern. Did we talk about mangrove cover? So in the entire world, Asia has one of the highest mangrove cover. And in India, you have one of the biggest mangrove forest, which is the Sundarbans. You have the biggest mangrove forest, most extensive mangrove forest. So mangrove cover has been in concern because first, we know that Asia has the largest mangrove cover. Mangroves, can you very quickly revise with me? What are the important geographical plus climatic conditions for mangroves. What are the important geographical and climatic conditions for mangroves? Anybody? Very quickly. Mangroves, coral reefs, these areas, these are some of the perennial topics. They can ask you questions on what are the basic conditions, this and that, any day. So can you tell me, are they found in the tropicals and subtropical water? Yes, no. Are they found in the tropical, subtropical water? Are they found in the areas which have higher temperature and humidity? Both temperature and humidity should be higher. Are they found in areas in freshwater or estuarian? Or estuarian? Saline water. Very good. They has to be. All right, Nitish. Shallow with salinity. Yes. Saline water. Saline water, Bhavani, or can I say that they need the intermixing, brackish or intermixing or estuarian type of right? Wetlands, for example, wetlands is a more comprehensive term. I cannot have mangrove in every wetland. Mangrove is a type of wetland. Will it be a better answer, Abhishek? Right? Mangrove is a type of wetlands. Wetlands is a much bigger entity, right? You have Sangpo Lake or Somoriri Lake also as wetlands, but can I have mangroves over there? No. Why? Because I do not have the temperature, I do not have the salinity, I do not have the land or sea mixture. So can I say that mangrove is an excellent example of an ecotone region? Mangrove is an excellent example of ecotone region which is known for its biodiversity. Again, do mangroves also act as cushions? Do mangroves also act as cushions, especially during the cyclones and the surges? Are mangroves also responsible for filtering? Are mangroves also responsible for filtering of water? Are mangroves also responsible for, one second, are mangroves also responsible for removing toxicity? Mangroves are also responsible for removing toxicity from, yes, very good, Bhavani, right, and Nitish also correct. Mangroves are one of the biggest carbon sinks. Mangroves are one of the biggest carbon sinks. Do mangrove also provide great fishing grounds? Are mangroves also used for agriculture? Yes, no. Are they also used for agriculture? Is fishing also part of agriculture? Agriculture मतलब खेत, घास, धान, जवार, वही बाजरा थोड़ी होता है. आप मछली भी तो फिशिंग में, उसमें एग्रीकल्चर में ही आती है. So is it important for fishing? It is important for agriculture. One more thing, does it support wide variety and very specific variety of biodiversity? So can I say it supports edge species? रिवाइज हो गया हमारा. Ecotone, allied agricultural activities, very good. So it is important for agriculture, fishing. It supports my edge species. Why? Because it is an ecotone area. Why it is an ecotone area? Because it is a zone of tension. We remember zone of tension in ecotone area is the area where I have maximum biodiversity because of intermixing of two different types of ecosystems. Now coming to this report. According to this report, the mangrove cover in India is nearly 5,000 square kilometer. Nearly 5,000 square kilometer, which is only 0.15% of the geographic area. It is only 0.15%. Now, the mangrove cover in the India has increased by only 17 square kilometer. Can I call it a significant increase? India is one of the top 3 polluters in the world. Can I call a mere increase by 17 square kilometer a significant increase when I know that I am having such high benefits of increasing mangrove cover? This is a concern. So technically the mangrove cover has increased, but it has not increased good enough to make changes for the environment. The states that have shown increases Odisha and Maharashtra, and this is also only by the natural regeneration, not because of any important efforts which are done by the government, not because of any major efforts done by the government. Very quickly write this and let me know when you are done writing. Very quickly write this. Very quickly write this. All right, I'll provide you this PPT, no issues. But don't see, this is one thing why I don't want to give PPTs is फिर तुम लोग ना notes नहीं बनाते. तुम notes नहीं बनाओगे तुमको याद नहीं रहेगा. So I don't mind giving these PPTs, but please make notes. Chaliye, one more thing, which is the forest prone to fire. Tell me quickly, I have already told you how much or what is the percentage of forest already which are prone to fire. How much forest cover is already prone to fire? We have discussed it. We have also discussed what are the possible reasons for fire. Very good. 1/3 is already there. And over the time, how much? Over the time, how much forest cover? More than 60%. More than 60% will be prone to fire. Chali, very good. So let us write down the important points. Please write along with this. So 35.46% of the forest cover is prone to fire. This is not easy to remember. 1/3 is easy to remember. Okay? So more than 1/3 of the forest cover area is prone to fire. Out of this is extremely prone, this is highly prone. You can't remember it, so don't bother about it. By the year 2030, up to 64%, 45 to 64%, that is up to 60% if I remember, will experience the effect of climate change and rising temperature. Forests in all states except Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Nagaland will be highly vulnerable to the climate hotspot, and one state, which is Ladakh, is likely to be most affected. Can you very quickly take 30 seconds and give me a reason why this will not be highly vulnerable and why Ladakh will be highly vulnerable to climate hotspots? I'm talking about the climate hotspots. Why Ladakh will be highly vulnerable and why these states will be least vulnerable? Think about it. Think the logic. What is the logic? What is the speciality of these states or the kind of forest cover in Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Nagaland? Achha, why have they not included? Very good. They are evergreen rainforest. Evergreen rainforest. One more thing. Let us revise our Indian monsoon. Does this region benefit from both? Soil moisture content in Ladakh will decrease. Absolutely right. One more thing. Is Ladakh going to suffer from heat waves if the overall global temperature rises? You have to understand this is subtropical region. In tropical, subtropical region, it will be 5-degree change, 35 to 40, not much difference. But in Ladakh region, if it is 15 degrees to 22 degrees, big difference, big difference. How many of you remember heat dome of North America? Heat dome of North America. भाई prelims आ रहा है. Heat dome of North America, right? There were fires in Canada. There were fires in Canada. In Canada, the temperatures were 45, 46 degree. Isn't it normal temperature during high summer in India? Peak summers in India. So that same temperature in India is not creating fires, but the same temperature in the higher latitude is creating issues. Does altitude mimic latitude? Right? Altitude mimics latitude. So the overall global warming will have much higher consequences in the areas where I am having higher latitude, higher altitude. Hence, now will you remember that Ladakh will be a problem, and this region which gets benefit from both southwest monsoon as well as retreating monsoon. Doesn't this region benefits from both southwest monsoon and retreating monsoon? Hence, it will have less effect. It will have effect, but it will have comparatively less effect. All right. See, you don't need to mug up a lot of things as long as you understand. Now coming to another concern which was raised by this report, which was the bamboo resources of the country. In the bamboo resources of the country, the total bamboo resources are, let's say, nearly 1,50,000 square kilometer. All right. And there has been a decrease. We have already discussed what is the importance of bamboo plantation, how it is important for production of oxygen, carbon sink, etc. And which are the top 3 states which have maximum bamboo, wherein it is Madhya Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh and Maharashtra. But Madhya Pradesh, though still have one of the highest area, is seeing a decrease in the overall bamboo plantations or overall bamboo cover. In Mizoram, there has been an increase. In Mizoram, it has been an increase. Bamboo is a type of grass. Chaliye, please note it down very quickly. Note it down very quickly. Chaliye, can we move on? Can we move on? 1 billion marine animals died in Canada. That is true, Hima, and entire villages got burnt. Entire villages got burnt. That region is known for a mixture of temperate deciduous and your Mediterranean biome, which is very productive. Anyways, so now what are the new features of this report? The new features are, for the first time, you have done the assessment of forest cover in tiger reserves and lion conservation areas. So in this report, in the 2021 report, now you're doing the assessment of tree reserve as well as of lion conservation area. For the first time, the tiger reserves, tiger corridors and Gir forest were assessed. The forest cover in the tiger have increased in the tiger corridors have increased between this decade, and it has decreased in the tiger reserve. You can't remember this. Don't try to mug up the facts. Just remember the corridors. Now, what is the difference between corridors? Even the elephant corridors were in news. What are these corridors? What are these corridors? Anybody? Elephant corridor is in news, is important for your exam also. The northeastern area has the highest number of elephant corridors, 22, to ensure safe passages. Okay, let us understand one thing. Due to habitat fragmentation, what is habitat fragmentation? That there was a continuous habitat, because of development activities, the whole forest got fragmented. But the animals, they still follow the ancient routes for, let's say, giving birth, for staying in the summer, winter, etc. That leads to the human wildlife conflict. To avoid human-wildlife conflict, you have created the areas connecting safe passage. Both which Akshita and Hima are saying that you have connected these areas which have ensured safe passage, and those are called the corridors. So the overall forest cover in the corridors have increased, but within the tiger reserve, which is again the recorded forested area, my tiger reserve will be part of the recorded forested area. This region is seen a decline, which is the true forest area. Now which are the tiger reserves which have seen an increase? It is Buxa. Now this has become very important for your map marking. Do you know the basics of map marking? Any location is in news, you are supposed to first find the state, find the type of forest, important species, river. For example, now I have found the Buxa Tiger Reserve. You have to find the state where it is, West Bengal. What type of forest do you have? Do you have moist deciduous or dry deciduous? Right, the chicken neck area. What are the species which are supported by it? If any of the species are in the category of vulnerable, endangered, etc. And if any major river flows from this particular tiger reserve. Same goes with Annamalai and Indravati of Chhattisgarh. The losses have been seen by Kaval Telangana, Bhadra Karnataka and Sundarbans. Isn't it a concern? Did I see West Bengal in the red zone? Right? I saw West Bengal in the red zone and Sundarbans is also seen decrease. So that is a concern, because one mangrove area rich for carbon capture, important for biodiversity, seeing decrease, and is home to one of the most iconic species of tiger, which is my Royal Bengal tiger. This reserve becomes extremely important, which is Pake Tiger Reserve. Again, you have to prepare the state, the forest, the species and rivers for this, which has the highest forest cover of up to 97%. This region has up to 97% of forest cover. Please note it down. Please note it down very quickly. Please note it down very quickly. Please let me know once you're done writing. Can I move on to the next slide? Sure. Now, what are the government policies which are in place? Again, I don't think it will be asked, but to give you a sense of completion, you have a National Forest Policy of the year 1988. Main objective is preserving the remaining national forest, then checking soil erosion and denudation in the catchment areas of rivers, lakes, reservoirs, etc. Extension of sand dunes. This is important, and along the coastal tracts to check the desertification. And increasing substantially the forest and tree cover in the country through afforestation. These are the four objectives, major objectives. This is the policy which is called as the National Forest Policy of the year 1988. This is the main legislation you should know, and these are the four areas. Simply write down these 4 points: preserving the remaining natural habitat. So with that only you will have flora, fauna, etc. Flora and fauna and overall biodiversity. Checking soil erosion and degradation of the catchment area, etc. Write it very quickly. Don't write the entire sentences. Again, I don't think this will be asked in the exam, but since the report is important. Can I remove it? All of you done? Chaliye, now coming to the IPCC 6th assessment report. IPCC 6th assessment report. What do you guys know? Let us have a discussion like we did in the forest report. Then we'll write the notes and it will stick to our head. Do we like this method? Do we like this method? I simply do not want to read out from the slides and then tell you write this down. There's no point. Let us have a discussion, understand the major concerns, and then when we'll write the notes, it will stick with us. Works for everyone? Right? Chali. So, what do you know about the 6th assessment report? Why it is so important? Why it is so important? What are the concerns and how India should prepare for it? All right. So we have to do two very important projects now, very important reports, which is the 6th assessment and what is the outcome of COP, what it has for India, etc. Anybody, what do you know about this report? Tipping point code red for humanity. Very good. We kind of know this, that did India gain something? In this report, there was one very iconic thing which was mentioned, that even if everything would have been done right, the global temperature would have risen up to 1.5 degrees Celsius by the year 2040, or let's say before the half of this century, right? So this was something which India was also reiterating, that it is not recent, but it is the historic emissions which are done by the yes, Indian Ocean is heating much faster. It was inevitable, and it is not inevitable because it is natural. No, it is inevitable because of the pollution which was done by the developed countries during the industrial era. So this is what India was also saying, that the developed countries need to own up to the pollution and need to help the developing countries. You cannot put the same onus on the others. You cannot expect Bhutan to have same kind of carbon cuts as USA or Europe. So this was one of the major findings. Apart from that, this has supported India's yes, ice-free Arctic at least once a year by 2050. September is called the ice-free month for Arctic. How many of you know that? September month is called as the ice-free month for the Arctic region. It is not exactly ice-free, but the level of ice decreases to a very minimum level. It is not totally ice-free. Arctic does not get ice-free, but it is now saying that at least once a year. And what is that time? That is the time of September, October. Your Arctic Ocean will be completely ice-free. Now imagine there are whenever we do about different biomes, few biomes have very specific type of biodiversity. For example, the polar bears, for example, the animals, the rabbits or the rodents which are found in these regions, the seals, do you think they can survive without the ice cover? So it is not just the albedo which is going to be affected. Now imagine the different dimensions. If Arctic actually loses ice, very quickly tell me what are the consequences. Will I have higher insulation? Yes, no. Right? Albedo or Earth's heat budget will be a concern. Second, sea level rise, loss to mangroves, loss to coral reefs, very good. Higher carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, how? Is it because of the depleting mangroves? Akshita? Second, one more thing, that in the areas which have frozen subsoil, or permafrost condition, they are the sinks. Permafrost has more carbon dioxide than atmosphere. That is where I wanted you to go. They literally have sinks of methane and carbon dioxide. more than carbon dioxide, I am more concerned about these methane sinks. Why? Because methane is more potent of a gas when it comes to carbon dioxide. Yes or no? Yes or no? Makes sense. So I am concerned about the methane sinks of this region. Then it will lead to more different types of diseases, because many of these plants, animals and different species are in the semi decomposed state in these regions, and they can lead to different types of bacteria, different types of viruses to be unleashed in the atmosphere. It will lead to mass killing of the fishes, etc. So yes, it is a big concern when it comes to loss of ice cover. Loss of ice cover, of course, there will be submergence of important areas. Maldives, Mauritius, all of these island nations will be gone. All right. There will be increase in the heat waves. Are you not feeling heat wave in India already? There is increase in the heat waves. We are already feeling heat waves. We are feeling, in fact, combined catastrophes such as extreme heat waves during the summer and flooding or cloud bursts during monsoon. True or false? So I am not just having one kind of climate calamity, I am getting this compound climate calamity such as extreme heat waves, and then followed by the flooding, and then followed by the shift of temperatures in my winter season as well. The world is going to have longer warm seasons and will have shorter cold seasons. Air pollution has reduced the intensity as well as frequency of monsoonal rainfall in India as well as South Asia. Now India, which is still highly dependent on agriculture, India has one of the highest population in the world. South Asia has one of the highest population of the world. You have three major countries which very high density of population, which is India, Pakistan and Bangladesh. Don't you think the failure of monsoon will lead to food crisis? Then of course the urbanization has also pushed up intense rainfall in the cities in South Asia, and several scientific evidences have suggested for India as well. Please write it down very quickly. 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 All right. The human-induced climate change is already affecting weather and climate extremes. The evidences such as heat waves, heavy precipitation, droughts, all of this, which was also mentioned in the 5th assessment report, has been strengthened. You simply need to read this, you don't need to note it down. This is important, that the global average air temperature may rise by more than 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial era between 2021 to 2040. Carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere is at around 416 parts per million, which is already the highest it has been in the 2 million years. Highest it has been in the 2 million years. Our last bet is to restrict the global temperature to 1.8 degree Celsius. Our last bet is to restrict the global temperature to 1.8 degree Celsius. Please let me know once you're done writing this. All right. So it has also shown that the human actions still have the potential to determine the future course. So this is something positive that has come out of this report. low emission scenario is the only chance to restrict it to 1.5, and for that, which is the most important thing, which is the adaptation. A lot has been told on the second part of the report, which was released in 1.8 degrees Celsius. Alok is told by different agencies that 1.5 is going to be achieved, but it should not touch 2 degrees Celsius. Do we remember Paris climate deal? In Paris climate deal, it was said that we have to restrict the global temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius and not more than 2 degrees Celsius. You remember? Do you remember? Right? But they are saying that in order to, we are already seeing a lot of climate extreme events. If we don't restrict our temperature to 1.8 degrees Celsius, we will see more such incidences of extreme climate. So hence 1.8 degree. All right. What are the ways by which we can still control it? First is, if the greenhouse gas emission is halved by 2030 and net zero by 2050. Is halved by 2030 and net zero by 2050. Yes, task force on greenhouse gas inventories is also being given. What exactly is it, Hema? Task force on greenhouse gas inventories. Is it part of the initiatives in which India is also very vocal that create infrastructures, transfer the technology, and then expect the developing countries to undergo mitigation? Right? Is it part of the same initiative? We'll get there, Sushmita, don't worry. Since this is something that a lot of you, I'm expecting, know about it. So we'll have a discussion on that. Now, what are the important observations? Now, this is important. This is the important part. That is, what are the important observations? The important observation include population at risk. How much population? Isn't it basically half of the global population? So basically, half of the global population are living under the highly vulnerable climate change conditions. So nearly half of the population is at risk. In India, is one of the vulnerable hotspot with several regions and cities which are facing disasters such as flooding, sea level rise and heat waves. This is something which is complex, compound and cascading risks. What are complex, compound and cascading risks? Let us now try to understand that India is part of the southwest monsoon. Because of climate change, I have increased incidences of El Nino. Because of El Nino, I have monsoon failure, which leads to crop failure. Because of crop failure, I will have more people which are under poverty. More stress on agriculture, so leads to more land degradation, as I try to cover more area under agriculture. Is everyone following so far? Again, because of lack of monsoon, majority of my country will have heat waves in my region. Because of heat waves, there will be hunger and poverty. Is it just one incidence? This is what the complexity of climate change and how it is affecting. Now, in all of this, won't humans be try to find more avenues to find food or in order to grow crops? Will it not affect the forest? Will you not start attacking the forest, and will it not lead to loss of biodiversity? So this is what this report has actually highlighted, that it is very complex, compound and cascading risk, which cannot be clubbed under a same box or single box. These are multiple things. For example, multiple disasters related to climate change. For example, the heat dome, right? Heat dome led to heat waves. Heat waves led to loss of marine ecosystem, loss of terrestrial ecosystem. People were dying. People were literally dying, right? चलता आदमी गिर रहा है, मर गया. In Canada and USA, people literally died because of extreme heat. So it is not just one, it will lead to then pandemic, loss of food, loss of biodiversity, collapse of ecosystem. So I will have multiple types of disasters which are being induced by climate change. Multiple climate hazards will occur simultaneously, all right, and multiple climatic and non-climatic risks. For example, whenever there is any type of climatic risk, it also leads to diseases. It also leads to diseases. Does it make sense to everyone? Please note it down very quickly. Please note it down very quickly. Yes, Amlan? Weak western disturbance, more heat waves, more crop loss. Exactly. So does it say that it is not just one complex situation, but the entire series which leads to complexity? Please let me know once you're done writing. So this is what it talks about, the coupled system. Please try to understand this, then you can write. What is this coupled system? Coupled system is a system where there is a strong focus on the interactions among the coupled systems of climate, ecosystem and human society. We understand that my climate, my ecosystem and human interaction, yes, premature ripening of the crops also, Amlan, heat waves make that. Plus apart from that, don't you think heat waves are responsible for more crop failure, right? Crop failure and the degradation in the quality of the crop. All right, now coming to the coupled system, let us see. I see climate change and how it causes different impacts and risk. Climate change impacts the human society, right? Human society tries to adapt and mitigate climate change. Human society is doing greenhouse gas emissions, which is responsible for climate change. So humans or anthropogenic activities are responsible for greenhouse gas emissions, which leads to climate change, and then climate change leads to impact on the human society or human health. Similarly, human society and ecosystem, how do they interact? Human society impacts the ecosystem because of its activity, let's say extraction of wood, extraction of different types of material, etc. It tries conservation effort also. For example, when you're having lumbering activity, when you're having mining, you are having tiger reserves also. In return, ecosystem provides livelihood, ecosystem services, etc. How climate change interacts with ecosystem? The ecosystem, including the biodiversity, tries to adapt to climate change, but the extreme climate events, they impact the ecosystem. This is something we have known since forever. They have simply put it on a diagram. About how the climate change, the human interaction and ecosystem biodiversity are interlinked. If you want, you can write it. Otherwise, I assume that you already know it. All right. What is needed? Needed is urgent governance, finance, knowledge and capacity building. Urgent governance and capacity building, so that what we can achieve? We can achieve this, which is climate resilient development. Now this is where, Hema, your inventories come into picture, right? How am I going to have a climate resilient development? I am going to create a human system which can adapt to mitigation. I have removed the greenhouse gas emission here. So I have to remove the greenhouse gas emission. Here I had greenhouse gas emission, which was leading to the climate change. What I need to make change here? I need to remove the greenhouse gas emission and do more adaptation. the climate change will impact the human society. Human society how? In terms of energy, industry, urban, rural infrastructure, etc. The humans and environment, how are they supposed to interact? The human system will impact the ecosystem, will hamper the ecosystem. The ecosystem provides different livelihood provisions. They need to intensify the conservation through ecosystem based approach in order to maintain the balance. And when it comes to interaction between climate change and ecosystem, more adaptation and mitigation and impact. So do I notice one thing? Do I notice one thing? Am I focusing a lot on adaptation here? Am I focusing a lot on adaptation here? Yes or no? Is my major focus on adaptation, both from the human side and the environment side? If the humans as well as the environment will adapt, then they can mitigate the climate change. This is what they called as the coupled system. Is there any doubt? Did we generally had an idea about this? They have simply formalized it. Can I say that? We knew this, they have simply formalized it. So this is what the IPCC report has said about the coupled system. Do you need to draw this? Do you want to draw this? All right. Chaliye. So now next is the health impact. The health impact of the climate change. In the health impact, the biggest concern is the vector-borne and the water-borne diseases. The biggest concern is the vector-borne and the water-borne diseases such as malaria, dengue, particularly in the subtropical regions of Asia. Now, why am I concerned about the subtropical regions of Asia? One, the subtropical regions of Asia have one of the highest densities of mosquitoes, insects, etc. Just go back to the biomes. Just go back to the biomes. In biomes, did the evergreen rainforest or the tropical subtropical region had one of the highest insect population? So whenever there is warm type of climate, you will have insect manifestation in these regions. These are known for different types of infections. In fact, the Democratic Republic of Congo forest, Amazon forest, they are difficult to navigate. Why? Because of mosquitoes, because of different types of insects, right? So in this region, there are dual effect. One, the climate supports the overall population growth. Second, isn't it also the region which one of the highest population density? This is also the region with the highest population density. We have seen during the second wave of COVID, that how population density along with a viral vector, extremely viral potent vector, can create havoc. True or false? Right? So that is a concern. Deaths related to circulatory, respiratory, diabetic and infectious diseases, as well as infant mortality, will increase with the rise of temperature and the increasing frequency of extreme weather events such as heat waves, flooding, drought and even air pollution was contributing to the undernutrition, allergic diseases and even mental disorders. This I want you to write very quickly. Please write it very quickly. Please write it very quickly. Chaliye. These are, I want you to take a screenshot of this if you want. These are the different adaptations. These are the different adaptations which are expected, from different types of systems, such as from land and ocean, here. From the land and ocean ecosystem, they are expecting in the coastal and terrestrial and water security and food security areas that they have to go for coastal defense and hardening, integrated coastal zone management, forest-based adaptation, sustainable aquaculture, biodiversity management. See, these are the points that you know already. I just want you to take the screenshot because this is given by IPCC. You know these points already, yes or no? Do you know these points already or not? Right? So there is no explanation needed. Simply take the screenshot so that you can identify in your question paper. Next is for urban infrastructure system. For urban infrastructure system, I am concerned with the critical infrastructure networks, green infrastructure, ecosystem services, sustainable land use, water management, water use efficiency, all of this. Next is energy system. You want me to further zoom it out? But mitigation has proven to not have a very significant impact. You are talking about mitigation from 1992, yes or no, Akshita? You are talking about mitigation from 1992. 1992 is Rio Summit. Chaliye. Did you in this report very clearly said that no matter what you would have done, the climate change is going to happen? Yes or no? No matter what you do, the climate change is going to happen. So it is in a way now telling, IPCC report is in a way now telling you that climate change is bound to happen. If you are a coastal country, there is going to be a sea level rise. It is better if you with time adapt to it. This is why there is more emphasis on adaptation than mitigation in this particular report. Okay? Chaliye. So now coming to another very important event which took place, COP26. I think this has been discussed so many times on so many platforms. Let us just do a quick revision. Chaliye, tell me. COP26, first on the global scale. What are the major decisions taken on the global scale? What are the major decisions? Tell me. Global methane pledge. Has India signed this pledge? There was a global methane pledge, there was a land degradation pledge. India has not signed any of these pledge. What else? Did the Glasgow Declaration talk about? Making steps to make the Paris Agreement a reality, or the methods to implement the Paris Agreement? Yes. What is 30 by 30? What is 30 by 30? What is 30 by 30, Baba? Chaliye, you have to tell me these things. I expect you to know. Prelims are right? COP is old news. One more thing. Did your country give another short form to the world? Did your country give another slogan in Paris Agreement? In Paris Agreement, you created International Solar Alliance. You talked about the solar energy. In this particular COP, you talked about the infrastructure. You said that, all right, fine, I'll give you Panchamrit, my 5 promises, right? My 5 promises, or the 5 nectar. In which I talked about increasing the overall renewable energy capacity by a much greater extent. I think it is 45%. Then I said that I will have 500 gigawatts of solar energy. I also said that I am going to reduce the overall carbon emissions by 1 million tons. I talked about how I am going to invest more in the renewable energy. But did India also remind the developed countries that you need to give me climate finance? Very good. I basically see 30 by 30 is land degradation, right? Land degradation, right, Hima? 30 by 30 is land degradation. Protect 30% of the world's land by 2030. That is land degradation. But India is not part of it. We'll discuss why. Very good. Small island nations. Now, small island nations, again, though small island nations were given recognition, but they were not given a lot of due share, which they deserve. Second, did you also reminded the developed world that you have to lose money? In the year 2009, the developed countries had agreed to give $100 billion a year. Have they released this fund yet? No. So India is now reminding that even the IPCC report is saying, though came after COP26, but whatever negotiations we are having now, India is saying, even the IPCC report is saying that it is all your wrongdoing. We are facing the climate change. So India has said $1 trillion for the infrastructure. India is now helping the small island nations by the name IRIS, which is infrastructure resilience in the island states. India has signed a contract, or let's say has signed with United Kingdom a CDRI. CDRI again is for infrastructure. CDRI is also for infrastructure. India is saying that, yes, very good Bhavani, you're right. India is saying that now you have to help the developing countries get the infrastructure and technology. The problem is neither you want to do the technology transfer, neither you want to give the money, but you want the developing countries and the small island nations to help in your climate change efforts, which is a very hypocritical thing. One more thing. Do we remember Kyoto Protocol? Yes, no. Do we remember Kyoto Protocol, right? What were the 3 outcomes of Kyoto Protocol? Very quickly revise with me. What was joint implementation? Joint implementation, CDM and carbon credit. Very good. Joint implementation, Annex 1 countries, right, Akshita? So joint implementation is Annex 1 countries can come together, have a project, then reduce carbon. Clean development mechanism is either I can take my project to another country, let's say India, I am USA or Canada, I do not have the land or resources, I go to India, I bring down the carbon emission and use that to my carbon credit, or I can give money to India to start a project and then I can earn the carbon credit. It is in the collaboration. So here the developed countries and developing countries, they come together. When it comes to emission trading, is it like a stock market? The highest bidder will get the carbon credit. Now what happened is Kyoto Protocol ended in the year, which year? Carbon stock is a different thing, Indu. Don't get confused. Carbon stock is the amount of carbon stored by the forest. 2020, yes. By the year 2020, Kyoto Protocol ended. Now my Kyoto Protocol has ended. Now will anyone purchase carbon credit? So developing countries such as India, China, Brazil, but they stopped purchasing. The carbon credits. All right. So now there is a sink of carbon credit, or there is carbon credit with these countries. So in COP26, it was allowed that you can use these carbon credits. Till the year 2025 to meet your nationally determined contributions, which is NDC. Yes, Bhavani, carbon sequestration is carbon stocking. I'm saying don't mix carbon credit with carbon stock, to another student. All right. So till 2025, I can use the carbon credit which were previously earned by me, which are not yet being used. to meet the goals of nationally determined contributions, which is NDC. Very quickly, let us have a quick revision. What is the principle? What is the principle in which India says that yes, everyone should put in efforts for climate change, but the developed countries who have gained more from carbon emissions should now pay more? What is that? CBDR. What is the full form of CBDR? Is it CBDR? Is it CBDR? Baba, yes, no. CBDR is combined but differentiated responsibilities. What is combined but differentiated responsibilities? That everyone, common but differentiated responsibility, that everyone should participate in the climate change efforts, but the rich and the ones which have done more pollution should pay first. Now coming to the question of why India is not part of the methane pledge and why it is not part of the land degradation. Can anyone tell me? Very good, Swaroop, you're right. Common but differentiated. Very good. One is India is an agricultural state. We need area for agriculture. Second is India's biggest concern. Biggest concern is no. Apart from all these things, agriculture, labor, poverty, eradication, fine. But the biggest concern shown by India was that India cannot accept any type of commitment where trade and climate change are kept in the same definition. They are having problem with trade. No, methane generation. See, India is having its own, initiatives for methane. We'll be doing that. It is still agriculture dependent, fine. But the main concern which was raised by India was that you have clubbed trade and climate change together. India is still saying that fulfill your Paris climate deal and Paris climate agreement commitments before signing any new commitment. So this was the major reason given by India. And of course that India still has agriculture as a priority. India still has to bring a lot of people out of poverty, and that is the reason why India have not signed these particular pledges. Do we get a little picture about COP26? Are we able to form a picture about COP26 now? I'm asking everyone. Are we able to form a picture of COP26? Right? Now, when you take notes, now it will be easy for you to identify the options in your question paper. Never go by reading the facts. Alright? If you simply read the facts, it will create confusion. Chaliye, let us very quickly finish this beautiful topic. In COP26, there are new global and country targets. It has urged the countries to consider strengthening their 2030 targets by COP27, which will be held in Egypt. The summit targeted global warming not to exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius and got about 140 countries to announce the target dates to net zero. The achievement is significant as in the Paris Agreement, the developing countries did not agree to reduce emission but just the emission intensity. Very quick. What does it mean? What is emission intensity? This question can be asked in your prelims as a basic concept question. The environmentalists say that you should reduce the overall emission, and the countries and the industries say that we are ready to reduce the emission intensity. Can anyone give me the definition of emission intensity? Emission intensity. Emission intensity is very good. Emission intensity is the volume of emissions or the volume of carbon dioxide or the volume of greenhouse gas produced per unit of GDP. So let us say if I have to make one car and it is producing 10 unit of CO2. All right. What is reducing emission intensity? By reducing emission intensity, I have agreed that rather than producing, very good Bhavani, you're right, rather than reducing, creating 10 units of carbon dioxide in the nature for making one car, I will reduce it to 8 units. For making the same car. But tell me one thing, as the economy will grow, will you keep on making just one car? Eventually, when you will make 100 cars, the overall emission will be 800 units, sorry. Right? The overall emissions will be 800 units. 800 units. This is called emission intensity. You are not overall decreasing, but what is the overall decrease in the emissions which is required by the environmentalists? They say that, let us say in 2022, you have created or you have emitted 1000 units of CO2. Aim for reducing the overall CO2 by, let's say, 800 units or 900 units, irrespective of the production or GDP. Irrespective of the production, aim for the overall reduction. Aim for the overall reduction. Is the difference clear? Is the difference clear? So which is the better method? Which is the better method? Reducing the emissions or reducing the emission intensity? Which is the better method? Emissions. So finally, the problem with Paris Agreement was that they did not agree to reduce emissions but the emission intensity. Now they have agreed to reduce the emissions. So this concept can be asked. Now, koi confusion nahi hoga. Will you be able to identify in your exam? Right? Another agenda was the Glasgow breakthrough agenda, which is important development of this, and it is endorsed by 42 countries including India. It is nothing but the cooperative effort to accelerate development and deployment of clean technologies. Development as well as deployment of clean technologies. 6. All right. And then there is another important, which is phasing down of coal consumption. Overall phasing down of the coal consumption. India has said that India cannot let go of coal. It can simply reduce the overall consumption of coal. So this is good for India. So now, then give me 10 minutes. I'll just finish this. All right. So in Glasgow breakthrough agenda, initially when I asked that what are the important outcome, somebody told about inventories. Somebody told about the inventories for greenhouse gases. Right? This is where your inventories will fit. This is where your inventories will fit. The main agenda is to create the technologies and the sustainable solutions for clean power, road transport, etc., hydrogen. And for this, one of the method is creation of the inventories to reduce the overall greenhouse gases. Does this point make sense? Does this point make sense? All of you? All right. Next is phasing down of coal consumption. Now, as you know, not just India, but a lot of countries are directly dependent on coal. So now we are seeing that this COP was more accepting the reality. What do I mean by that? They are simply saying that Coal is one of the dirtiest fossil fuels. Whenever we talk about sulfur oxide, nitrogen oxide, particulate matters, SPMs, then volatile organic compounds, all of these, I have one common emitter, which is coal and thermal power plants. It is also responsible for thermal pollution of rivers. But can India do away with coal? India cannot do away with coal because coal is our major source of energy. We still do not have renewable energy at par. So now what they have done is that rather than phasing out, which was pushed by European countries, you should completely phase out. The developed countries have said that let us create a middle path, that rather than phasing out, phase down, bring it down, make a better mixed energy basket. Does it make sense? So it has asked for a phase down of coal-based power rather than complete phase out. Are these 2 points clear? Are these 2 points clear, all of you? All right. Next is the Panchamrit. The Panchamrit, which is the 5 promises by India. I think we know this. Very quickly, let us revise. These are to reach 500 gigawatts of non-fossil energy capacity by the year 2030. 50% of the energy requirement from renewable energy. Reduction in the total projected carbon emission by 1 billion tons from up to 2030. Reduction of carbon intensity of the economy by 45%. Now do we understand carbon intensity? We know the difference. It is not overall reduction of carbon emission, but carbon intensity. By how much? 45%. And achieving the target of net zero. Very quickly write this. I think you know this already. So very quickly write it down. Then of course we gave a mantra, that is mantra of lifestyle. All right. So in this mantra we basically talked about the combating climate change, that is to change with the lifestyle. So India actually highlighted that by making lifestyle changes you can aid in the climate change also. Upgradation of INDCs, that is true, but that is separate. These are the 5 main. Therefore, there has to be 5 points, right? Those are other initiatives that are taken by India. That is, it is going to upgrade its INDC. It is going to work on solar power. There is a lot of talk about the solar power, how to make solar power as the major source of renewable energy. Do we remember one sun, one world, one God? Sorry, one sun, one world, one grid. Nahi bachche, if it comes to Panchamrit, these are the 5 points. Don't get confused. Panchamrit, these are the 5 points. Okay? पिछले 6 महीने में there has been a lot of discussion on the India's efforts towards climate change. Do not get confused there. Now, so basically it talks about how we can have a climate environment conscious lifestyle. Something which Europe has started doing now, we are doing since always, that is using used containers for storing the grains etc. हमारे यहाँ बॉर्नवीटा के डिब्बे कभी फेंकते ही नहीं है. So we already know how to have a healthy lifestyle. All right. Then is net zero. Do we all understand net zero? Climate neutrality, net zero. Anyone who wants to understand the concept, I am assuming you know this concept. So we will become the net zero emitter by the year 2070. By the year 2070, which is the net emission will become net consumption. Next is, what shall be the India's approach? Now this is where it is important. I want you to write it properly, but be a little quick. Now, as part of its overall approach, India emphasized the foundational principles of first, equity. Again, we are again focusing on equity, production, common but differentiated responsibility, which is CBDR, and respective capabilities. You cannot keep unequals on an equal platform. You have to understand their capabilities as well. It also highlighted that all countries should have equitable access to global carbon budget, equitable access to money also, resources also, global resources for keeping the temperature increase within the limits. All countries must stay within their fair share of global carbon budget when they are using it. And what shall be the responsibility of developed nations? It has also called on the developed countries for climate justice, undertake rapid reductions in the emissions, reach the net zero much earlier than expected by the developing countries, and also to have more than their fair share in the overall climate budget. Does it make sense to everyone? Does it make sense to everyone? So India has now very firmly said that we are ready to take on the baton for climate change, but the developed world has to take up its responsibility. Quickly just have a screenshot of this. Quickly just have a screenshot of this. Alright, these are few measures which are required, and then we have few pledges we'll be doing tomorrow. Was I able to give you a broad idea about the three major paperwork which was done, which is the State Forest Report, IPCC report, and COP26. Now, are these three reports, their important findings, absolutely clear to everyone? Will you need to mug it up? That is what is my concern. Do you think there is a need to mugging up? Everything makes sense now? Chali. So from tomorrow, now this is where I want your input. Since these are current affairs classes, there is one major portion which is related to species. I can have an entire class tomorrow dedicated to species. Do you want that? Or do you want me to teach species for half an hour every day? Every day. Species are the different species which are endangered, vulnerable. So we can either do it in one class or half an hour every day. I also believe that if we do it every day, it will be easy for you to remember. Otherwise, it will be a big mixture. Alright? Chali. So are we comfortable with this method of teaching? Alright. Chali, have a good night. Have a great time and all the best for your exam. And if you have any issues, please reach out to me. If you find any question you're not able to answer, you solve any test series, please let me know. Right? My name is Karuna Mishra and you can find me on Telegram also. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Take care of all of you guys.